Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health Radio and TV. I'm your host, Sara Banta. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of three. Today, my guest is back. I love her to death. We will be talking about how women need to fast differently than men and how it benefits your physical and mental health. With the benefits of fasting, you'll see an improvement, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually, whether it's overcoming anxiety and depression, losing weight, or detoxing your body in the proper way, and even increasing that level of frequency in life. You need a strong physical foundation of health in order to gain the willpower to make the bigger changes in your life. If you're new to following me, I specialize in helping you get there. You can find my health articles, my cutting edge natural supplements, devices, and protocols at sarabantahealth.com. My company is the sponsor of the show, so as you support my website, I'm able to bring you more cutting edge content and guests to the show. Today, as I mentioned, we will be diving into the benefits of fasting, but first I wanted to talk about some tools you can use to maximize those fasting benefits, making it easier to reverse hormonal decline, improve energy, and reverse aging. That's what we're all wanting, right? The goal is to improve mitochondrial health and increase energy at the cellular level. We want to reverse insulin resistance, reduce toxicity, improve mitochondrial health, and that energy will increase. All of these things are tied to reverse aging and eliminating your chronic disease. The first one is accelerated keto. We are going to be talking about fasting, and the thought of fasting might be going, oh my God, that's too overwhelming. I can't do that. I need to eat every 2 hours. Well, accelerated keto flips you into fat burning mode within 30 minutes, and your body taps into its own fat stores for energy right away. So your body is not stressed. It's comfortable. It feels good. You're on ketones, and it's got thousands and thousands of calories on your body to burn for that energy. You feel great physically and mentally right away, and you feel like, okay, now I can do this. When your body's running on those ketones produced by the accelerated keto, combined with fasting and a low carb diet, high wild animal protein being prioritized, ATP production increases significantly in the mitochondria and your energy will increase. But where accelerated keto is different than any other keto supplement is it has additional ingredients in there that break down the saturated fats into the unsaturated fats. And why is this important? Those unsaturated fats are easier for the body to utilize and easier for the body to convert into ketones. So when you're fasting, the body fat's more readily available to burn for energy, which increases ketones and autophagy even more. So it's almost like a second source of ketones. And that autophagy is the cleanup mechanism in your body. And because of this property, the accelerated keto is able to defat the liver. And you know I love my liver. So in addition to doing those liver flushes 3 to 4 times a year, just taking the accelerated keto is going to clean up your liver and defat it on a daily basis. And the more your liver is defatted and unclogged, the easier it is for the liver to function in all areas, including breaking down those fat molecules, increasing the detoxification, which we're going to talk a little bit about how detoxing, or if your detox pathways aren't open, how you actually can gain weight when you're fasting. Who knew? But this will help increase the detoxification pathways and opening them up. And the liver is also where the thyroid hormones convert from the inactive T4 to the active T3. So your thyroid works better, increased metabolism, increased fat burning, increased mitochondrial function. It all works. And it also has HMB in it, which prevents muscle wasting, which we're also going to get into. Adding into the accelerated keto, you have the acceleradine. So when you are fasting, you are increasing your spiritual awareness, right? So yes, we're losing weight. Yes, we're increasing energy, but the whole also A lot of religions fast for spiritual reasons. Well, when you add in the acceleradine, which is known as the number one spiritual element or mineral, it is helping decalcify the pineal gland, opening it up, increasing the connection between your brain and your body. Your thyroid is the bridge, right? And the thyroid is needing that acceleradine iodine, and it helps increase ATP production by 18 times on its own. Add in fasting, add in the accelerated keto, and that ATP number is just going to shoot through the roof. And you're going to need that iodine, the acceleradine, for brain function, physical performance, wound healing, fat burning, healthy apoptosis, which is the destruction of disease cells. And most everyone now, after the last 2 years, has suboptimal thyroid from the spike protein. Acceleradine is reversing that damage done to the DNA by the mRNA and the spike protein. Also, with ATP increasing, the fat oxidation and your energy is going to increase. Your metabolism is going to improve as well. And the acceleradine is the only monoatomic iodine, meaning one molecule that has 100% bioavailability, that feeds the cells directly without having to be broken down like all of the other iodines. And every 100 trillion cells in your body needs that iodine. So it's really important that you're taking an iodine that is not toxic, is not contaminated with radiation, which most are, and most other supplements are only 10 to 20% absorbed. That's where the acceleradine is different. And it is also enhanced with scalar frequencies, like most of the accelerator products, to detox the cells from heavy metals, graphene oxide, and radiation. No other iodine incorporates those healing scalar frequencies. And this week, accelerated thyroid is finally here. It combines ancient herbal wisdom, Ayurvedic, with advanced glandular therapy. It is putting these two amazing supplements in one, saving you money, saving the amount of times you have to pop any thyroid pills, but also we've added in some other ingredients to really support not just your thyroid, but your full endocrine system. It is going to be a game changer. And coming soon, right after that, is Cogniblast. It's a cutting edge natural brain enhancement that it increases mental focus, energy, and memory, increases mood, increases ATP production again, enhances that learning speed, increases lifespan. So it's not just short term, okay, I'm on it for the day and then I die like some drugs do, but this is a nootropic that also has long-term benefits. It will help prevent Alzheimer's and dementia, decrease inflammation, improve circulation, and so much more. Super excited about both of those. Those will be game changers. I give more tips and tools through my free group coaching. You can join with the link below on Telegram or email me through the website, sarabantahealth.com. The difference between me and any other group coach is I provide the most cutting edge frequency enhanced supplements that work synergistically with each other, and your body does not experience those flu-like symptoms. You do feel great day one. Leave a comment below if you're interested, or check it out on the website, sarabantahealth.com. Now to the good stuff. Dr. Mindy Pelz is a renowned holistic health expert and one of the leading voices in educating women about their bodies. She is on a mission to start a women's health revolution, and I think she has. She is the author of 3 best-selling books, The Menopause Reset, The Reset Factor, and The Reset Kitchen, and she's got a new one out, or almost out, and we're going to be talking about today. I'm so excited to have her back on. She's one of my favorite people with the best energy. Welcome, Mindy. How are you?
Oh, thank you, Sara. I appreciate that introduction. I'm excited to be here as well. And I have to laugh, like all the other talk of all your supplements. I'm like, oh, all my favorite topics. I'm like, can we talk about all that? That was
Yes.
awesome. Well done.
Where do you want to start? I mean, there's so much to go into.
Yeah.
Women versus men, what to break with a fast with, and we mentioned the muscle thing before we came on the air. You're a full array of knowledge. Everyone just needs to hear it all. So where do you want to start?
Well, I think let's start with what's going to be the most helpful for women, which is why women need to fast different than men. Like this is the whole premise of Fast Like a Girl, is that there's a lot of nuance when we're dealing with fasting for women. And it really boils down to our sex hormones. If I could make it as simple for people to understand, men are very much driven by testosterone. We kind of know that, right? I mean, it's like not really like a surprise, but testosterone is made in a man and then goes up into the brain and converts into estrogen. Whereas a woman is driven by testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. And all three of those are made in the thecal cells of her ovaries and require communication from the hypothalamus and pituitary. So just that alone makes us a lot more complex. But here's what happens with fasting and where things go awry is that if we just look at estrogen and progesterone, and in the book, I call them sisters. I'm like, we got to think of them as sisters with like vastly different personalities. So estrogen and progesterone want to be treated very differently, very differently. So estrogen thrives with low carb, thrives with keto, thrives with fasting. If you're trying to balance your estrogen out, that's a great place to put your lifestyle efforts. Whereas progesterone's like completely on the other spectrum. She's like, you better raise glucose so I can be made. So she actually, our body will naturally raise glucose, will naturally make us more insulin resistant when we need to make more progesterone. And in that moment, whether you're a perimenopause, postmenopause, or a cycling woman, if you're not minding what the needs of progesterone are, and you're fasting at the wrong time, you're gonna end up with all the things that so many women saw: hair loss, muscle loss. We can chat about that a little bit. Trouble losing weight sometimes, a little different for everybody, but that's where the nuance starts. But the important thing is to realize that because we have a more complex spectrum of sex hormones, we have to fast differently.
I mean, just as you're talking about it, almost seems overwhelming because you have to manage your testosterone, your estrogen, and progesterone, and men just need to worry about their testosterone.
Right.
And
Right.
and you've talked about how you have to fast differently at different times in your cycle to produce and to support those hormones. And I want to be really clear that when Mindy's talking about supporting progesterone with carbs, it's not the processed foods and the inflammatory oils and that sort of thing. So why don't you talk a little bit about progesterone and what foods you're talking about?
Yeah, thank you. And just so that if you're like me when you're listening to new information and you're like, this is so cool, I want to learn it, I better write it all down. Two things can happen. One, you come back and you listen to this episode again. But two, it's all written out in the book. And I created something called the fasting cycle, which is a really cool visual tool that women will understand when they can go into these longer fasts and when they can't. So that's the first thing that I just want to make, because when I'm learning new things and they excite me, I'm like, oh my God, stop everything. I want to know this. So, yeah, I mean, to your point, we're not talking like that progesterone wants you to sit down and eat a box of pizza and a tub of ice cream. The best way I can explain this is with a cycling woman, and then we can talk about perimenopause and menopausal women. But to begin with, just for simplicity's sake, the first half of our cycle, it's called the follicular phase. I actually gave it a new name in the book because I'm like, follicular, luteal, like nobody knows what these are. So let's give them some fun names. So in the book, I call it our power phase. And the power phase is where we can power up on keto. We can power up on fasting. We can power up on exercise, like all the things that overachieving woman wants to do. And I'm in that, I call her the rushing woman. I'm in there, right? Yes. Let's just call ourselves out just so there's no blame here. But day 1 to about day 10 of your cycle, your body's building estrogen. This is a power phase. Keto works great. Fasting works great. Then you move into your ovulation period. And I gave this a new name too. I call it the manifestation phase because you can manifest a baby. You can also manifest a new job. You can manifest resolving conflict in your life. As you'll learn in the book, during this manifestation phase, you've got estrogen already at its highest. You've got testosterone at its highest, and you've got progesterone, a little blurb of progesterone. So because our hormonal superpowers are coming in this big way during ovulation, we have to do things different. 15-hour fast is great. We should not be doing keto as much. We should be focused on what I call hormone feasting foods. I lay them all out in the book. But the idea is really to bring glucose up a little bit, not a ton, but you don't want to be in that extreme keto and you don't want to be fasting super long so that you can break those hormones down. Then when we come out of that phase, we go into another power phase, and it's about 4 days, 5 days, day 16 to day 20 of a woman's cycle. You can go back into a 3-day water fast. You can throw your favorite keto meals at that time for hormones. That'll work. But ultimately, the biggest part of this whole equation is the week before your cycle. Day 20, progesterone's coming in. And if we are restricting glucose, if we're in a long fast, if we're running marathons during this time, that's going to tank progesterone. And once progesterone goes down, we have a whole host of problems. Remember that progesterone keeps estrogen in check. Progesterone calms us. Progesterone actually gives us quite a bit of intuitive sense. Like there's so many wonders of progesterone. So when she declines, progesterone helps us sleep. Now you got a woman that's struggling. So that's really where, when we look at fasting, it is amazing for women at the right time of her cycle.
Right. So when someone is just starting to fast, even for a woman, do you tell her that even for the first 30 days, she's type 2 diabetic, she's, she comes to you, says she's overweight, has all of the metabolic issues going on that's associated with insulin resistance. Do you tell her to follow her cycle even in that first 30 days, or is it okay to fast and more strictly during that first period?
It's such a great point, and it's one that I really want to emphasize. When you first come to learning how to become a fat burner, so I call it metabolic switching. In the book, maybe one of my favorite chapters is called Metabolic Switching, the Missing Key to Weight Loss, because it really is. Everybody thinks fasting and keto is what you need to lose weight, but actually it's the switching in and out. So when you first come to learning keto and making ketones, your job is to learn how to go from a sugar burner to a fat burner, how to switch over into that fat burner state. In that fat burner state, what your body's doing is it's burning energy from fat, and the byproduct of that is ketones. So we can also call it the ketogenic energy system, but it's a different energy system that if you haven't been fasting, you probably have never accessed before. So to your point, the very first step is to learn how to get into ketosis. And it may take you a week, it may take you a month, it might take you 90 days. If it takes you longer than 90 days, you got to figure out what's holding you up. Once you've gotten that rhythm and you've got that switch, now you're ready to do what I call fast like a girl. And that's the exact combo that I mentioned. So in a perfect world, that's the way you would do it. Now, in the book, I created a very simple 30-day fasting reset that gently moves people into this ketogenic energy system. So we have a beginner 30-day reset, and then we have an advanced one. But if you're brand new, you can just jump right into that 30-day.
I love that. I want to get into the topic we talked about, muscle and women. And I've always been an athlete. I have always prioritized strength training and muscle building. I've never been afraid of lifting heavy weights. Women, you are not going to get bulky and big. You just aren't, unless you're taking steroids. But we enter this perimenopause, menopausal age, and it's harder to keep that muscle on. Can you explain why? What is going on in our body that's causing that? And what are the benefits of muscle when it relates to insulin resistance and how it fits in with fasting?
Yeah, it's so many good questions. So the first thing that I really want women to know, and this was the basic premise of the menopause reset, was that at 40, your ovaries are starting to go into retirement. Now, if you haven't had a baby by 40, don't freak out. You still got some years. But in general, at around 40, and it's sometimes happening a little bit earlier, like 35 now, what is happening is the ovaries are like, hey, I've only got a few eggs left. I'm going to wind down. You might get an egg 1 month. We might skip a month. Things start to become very sporadic. And the ovaries stop making as many sex hormones. And this takes about 10 to 15 years. That has been, as a 53-year-old, I'm like, oh, I wish somebody had like tapped me on the shoulder at 40 and said, just get ready, because this is a decade-long journey. But the thing that we have to realize is that what's happening is that you still need to make sex hormones. So your ovaries have to hand the job over to another organ. And what it does is it hands it over to your adrenal glands. So the reason this is important is if you are over 40 and you're totally stressed out and you add fasting onto that, you're adding another stressor on there. And those two stressors are going to make the adrenals reach not only for glucose in muscles, but it can often reach for amino acid and start to break muscles down so that the adrenals can function properly to make sex hormones and to make cortisol. So the first thing you got to do if you're worried about losing muscle after 40 with fasting is you've got to make sure your adrenals are strong enough. And for me, I love the Dutch test. I think it'll tell you everything you need to know about all your hormones, but running a Dutch test is great. But also really, the stressful life you live at 45 will not work for you like it did at 25 and 35. That stress has to change. Your schedule has to change. Your mindfulness tools need to be improved. It's really profound how you can come running into 40 really healthy and you still have to make some adaptations. So that would be the first thing. And then there's nuance beyond that.
So, and it's funny because I used to row in high school, and my kids now row, and they're teenagers, and they'll do 3-hour practices and tell me what they're doing. And then I'll try to say, well, I did this morning on the rowing machine, but I tell them, I can't do what you do. It will put me out.
Yeah.
When you talk about adrenals and the Dutch test, absolutely. But for those listening who are not getting tested, what are signs that they have adrenal fatigue, burnout? I know there's no such thing, but what are signs that their adrenals are suffering?
Yeah, such a good question. And I want to mimic back to you that's what happened to me. I mean, I was a competitive tennis player, and in my 40s, I was like, all of a sudden, like, I'm not going to run like I used to. I'm not going to push physically like I used to. And each time I listened a little more and I gave a little more balance to my body, I really, really improved. So yes, if you don't have the resources for a Dutch test, here's the most simple way to know your adrenals are not functioning well. And it's one I use through my 40s all the time. When you go from seated to standing, do you get dizzy? If you get dizzy, your adrenals have a part of them is making a hormone that controls blood pressure, and blood pressure can be controlled by sitting and standing. So if you go from a seated position to a standing position and you get dizzy, it's that those adrenals did not react quick enough. So there was a lag in there. So it's, to your point, it's not that the adrenals are fatigued. Let's be really clear on that. There's a whole team. There's an HPA axis, but that system isn't responding as quickly as it should be. Throughout all my 40s, this is what I used. Was if I stood up and I got dizzy, my brain went, oop, adrenals need some love. I'd pop on an adrenal supplement. I'd start saying no. I'd prioritize sleep. Those kind of things I really would look at. And then when the dizziness would go away, I'd be like, okay, let me try this again and see where I'm at. So I think that's the easiest test. It really is. And, there's other things like you struggle to fast, you struggle to get into ketosis. Fasting makes you, even low levels of fasting, 12 to 13 hours makes you feel horrible. But I really think the blood pressure test is the best one.
So this question I get so many times, and I know you do too. What breaks a fast?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Right. So I got it so many times that literally when I put my book proposal together for Fast Like a Girl, I had a few non-negotiables. And one of them was I have a whole chapter on this topic. And the chapter is what breaks a fast? How do you know if it breaks a fast? How to break a fast? I even went as far as to put a lot of break fast recipes in it. So it's such a popular question. So, here's the first thing to know. And this is the hardest part about fasting like a girl is that we're all different. And so what controls your blood sugar, believe it or not, are microbes. So it's the bacteria in your gut that's going to control your blood sugar. So let's use the most common question, which is, how is my cup of coffee? Is it going to break the fast? So here's what you do is you take a blood sugar reading. Then you drink your cup of coffee. And then I would say about a half hour later, that's usually a good enough time to see any changes to blood sugar. If your blood sugar spikes, it broke a fast. If your blood sugar stayed the same or dropped, it kept you in the fasted state. You can do the same thing with your cream in your coffee. You can do the same thing with the butter in your coffee. Just keep testing everything and see what it does to your blood sugar. Now, having said that, oftentimes a cup of coffee might appear to break a fast now for you, and a month later, it won't break a fast. So our microbes are always changing. Our bacteria in our gut are always on the move. So, so I think that's the most simple way is there's bio-individuality. So knowing that blood sugar test is important. I wrote it out in the book. I even put a little square around it. Like I wanted to put if Hay House had let me, I would have put arrows. Like everybody wants to know the answer to that question.
You bring up the microbiome, and I have a leaky gut bundle. And these powders actually taste really good. They've got a little stevia or sweetener in there. And one is to help build up the mucosal lining, and one is a prebiotic. And they've got quite a few calories in them. And I actually asked, just to confirm, I knew in my head, but just to confirm, I said, do we count those calories as calories that we're going to burn, or are those calories being eaten or used up by the microbiome? And he said, absolutely, they are being consumed by the bacteria. So now I have not tested my blood sugar before and after using it. My guess is it probably breaks a fast a little bit, not as much as you would take, the same amount of sugar from a candy bar would, type thing. But it's interesting. And I've heard you talk about that gut microbiome. I mean, it is so much bigger than we are. And right. Yeah. And so that is where you need to heal that leaky gut. And so many of the chronic diseases and the issues that people are facing are because of that gut and the leaky gut. And we're fasting. That is what fasting is so great for, that healing property and losing that inflammation. So why don't you talk about the benefits of fasting for the gut?
Yeah. And this is such one of my favorite topics with fasting, because the gut and microbes and fasting have gotten a bad rap. A lot of people believe that fasting destroys the gut. And again, we have to look at the person in totality. So let me tell you what the science says. The science shows that when we fast, specifically going into the longer fast, getting closer to the 24-hour mark of fasting, that old bacteria that no longer serves us in our gut will be shed. This is why a lot of people will get diarrhea or constipation. And the whole environment inside the gut changes so that new bacteria can really grow. One of those environmental changes is that you get intestinal stem cells. And intestinal stem cells will go in and repair that mucosal lining of the gut, which is what is contributing to leaky gut. The second change that happens is that we see something called geographical relocation. In the gut, a lot of times the microbes are really stuck close together. And so because they're clumped together, when we eat, we can't pull those nutrients out. Or even when you take a supplement, you can't pull those nutrients out. So when we do a periodic, I'm not talking about a 24-hour fast all the time. I'm saying once a week, once a month, once a quarter, we throw a 24-hour fast in there. We totally change the environment so the leaky gut can start to heal and these microbes can start to spread, and so that you're able to absorb more nutrients. Now, that's all happening while you're fasting. If you're very intentional about what you break your fast with, I in the book talk about the 3 Ps: polyphenol, probiotic, and prebiotic foods. I give you list after list after list of great foods to break your fast with. If you think in your mind, like, okay, I've just been fasting, I just got rid of the bad bacteria, I've changed the terrain in there, the good bacteria are like, hooray, the bad guys are gone, we can finally flourish. If you feed them the 3 Ps at that point, or even, Sara, it'd be interesting for you and your community, take your supplements and put some of your prebiotic, probiotic supplements. If you put that in at that break fast mark, you are allowing these good microbes to grow. And so not only did you change the environment, but you gave these beautiful microbes that make wonderful neurotransmitters for you, that keep your immune system strong, that send signals via the vagus nerve to calm your brain down. You are giving them the fuel to flourish. And it's the most beautiful combo I've seen.
Absolutely. I feel it. I mean, I do break my fast with that drink with the 2 powders in it to kind of coat it before my first meal. And then I go right into breaking a fast with protein. And I would love for your take on doing that. When people talk about, gosh, I can't imagine fasting. I just love how you can use protein to manipulate your blood sugar and to cause the cravings to go away. It's just such an amazing macronutrient. So
cool.
Let's talk about protein.
Yeah. Protein's the hero, the macro hero of the day. So here's what you have to know is when you're fasting, depending on how long you fast, and in the book, I show you the science on the different length of fasts. You typically around 16, 17 hours, you're going to start to hit autophagy. And think of autophagy as catabolic. It's breaking down. It's getting rid of the old. And oftentimes, you said it earlier in the intro, it can lead to apoptosis. And apoptosis is getting rid of old cells. So there is this breakdown effect of fasting. So because of that, as we fast more and more, when we go to break our fast, we need to make sure we're breaking it with protein. So you can go and you can add that with the 3 Ps. You could do a combo, Sara, like you could drink your drink and then you could maybe do bone broth and then maybe do some protein and then maybe do the 3 Ps. Like I like the idea of having a task when you go into the eating window so that people don't just boomerang into, all eating whatever they want. But you want to make sure protein gets into your body within that first hour of breaking a fast. And you want to make sure that you're getting at least 30 grams of protein. So 30 grams of protein will signal the amino acid receptors in muscles to grow bigger. So I love that for a break fast meal. You can add it to the 3 Ps. You don't have to pick one or the other. But what you're doing now is as you come in with protein, you're stimulating mTOR. mTOR is growth and mTOR is anabolic. So think of it like a seesaw. You got to have the pieces go up and down, where sometimes you're down, sometimes you're up. Sometimes you have autophagy, sometimes you have mTOR. I clinically think that we need about 80% autophagy and 20% mTOR within our week, or as you'll see in the book, I'm giving you the tools to balance autophagy and mTOR around the fasting cycle. And the fasting cycle, by the way, will work whether you're postmenopausal or not. The only difference is that women who have a cycle will enter into the fasting cycle at the day period. But it's the balance of the two.
So I'm just taking me for example. I fast.
Yeah, let's use you. Go for it. Let's dissect you, Sara.
I work out in the morning and I do take perfect aminos, and which has been shown not to affect insulin or blood sugar to support muscle growth while I'm working out. When I break my fast, does it have to be within a certain amount of time period from my workout for that muscle support for to build the muscles back up?
Yeah.
Or is it okay to wait a few hours?
Yeah. So here would be, what time do you work out?
About 6:30.
Okay. And what hour of fast is that?
Oh gosh. I probably finish eating at night at about 7:30.
Okay. So you're about you're about 11, 12 hours in. Perfect. Okay. So when you're working out in a fasted state, which is amazing because that, especially for people who want to lose weight. So when you're done.
Oh, are you there, Mindy? I think we're losing connection a little bit.
Go away. Did you lose me for a moment?
Okay, I did, but there you are.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if it was me or what, but so now you're at 13 hours where you've been fasting, you've worked out, you've stimulated autophagy through the workout. So now you need to come in with something that's going to be on the mTOR end. Now, here are your two options. One option is you break your fast and you just say, hey, it's 13 hours. I'm not going 17, 18 hours. I'm going to come in with some really strong, heavy protein. I will tell you what I do when I make that choice is I come in with a lot of sausage. I'll do like a grass-fed sausage. I'll sometimes do steak leftover from the night before. Sometimes it's not even like I'm not doing it for my enjoyment. I'm doing it because I need to get the protein in. Right. So you could actually physically get the protein in. Or what we're seeing work is you could do mega dose perfect aminos, and you could do it in water and just drink a bunch of water and then continue fasted. Now, what's interesting about that, and this is where we get really nuanced. So if you're new to fasting, please hang with me here, is that to your point, we're seeing that perfect aminos doesn't spike glucose and insulin. That's great. So it will keep you in this ketogenic energy system. It'll keep you burning fat, which is what we're trying to do with fasting. But it may take you out of autophagy because autophagy is not just a glucose sensor system. It is a nutrient sensor system. So I would say try that for several, like over and over again. I would come in with maybe, 2 big glasses of aminos. It needs to be over 30. If we get between 30 and 90 grams of aminos, most of that will be gobbled up for muscle. Over 90 grams of protein is going to be converted to glucose. So as long as you're staying somewhere between 30 and 90, and there's a calculation for perfect aminos, you should be good. So I don't know if you've tried that.
I have tried that, and I'm actually doing almost 3 scoops in the morning, which is it's over 30 grams at least. So it's about 45 grams. So I'm doing that, and then throughout the day, I'm eating, I would say 20 to 24 ounces of animal protein. So
okay, my next fix would be something called protein cycling. Stimulating mTOR every couple of hours has scientifically been proven to grow muscle better. So you would need to do 30 grams every 2 to 3 hours. And ideally, you want to do it up to your perfect body weight. So if your perfect body weight was 120 pounds, you want to have 120 grams of protein. Dr. Minkoff, I don't know if you've spoken to him. He believes
yesterday.
Oh, really? Oh, I love him. He's great. He's really good. But he mentioned when he came on my podcast, he mentioned 1.6 pounds, every 1 gram for every pound, 1.6 pounds.
Got it. So, or 1.6 grams per pound.
Yeah, no, it's flipped. You're right. It's 1.6 grams for every pound your body is. That's it. Thank you.
That makes sense. So we have a few minutes left, and this is a topic that I'm very focused on with my clients is detoxification. But you mentioned that fasting, you could actually gain weight if your detox pathways are not open and not functioning properly. So I really wanted to dive into that if we have a few more minutes.
Yeah. And this is also a really important nuance. And, we learned this from watching hundreds of thousands of people fast on YouTube. And I noticed why were some gaining and some weren't? let's go back into the body and let's think about it from the body's perspective. You put yourself in this healing state, and the body's now getting rid of bad cellular parts. It's doing apoptosis. It's getting rid of bad cells. And now it has to put it through your lymph system, and it wants to either sweat it out, it's going to pee it out, it's going to poop it out, or maybe at night when your brain shrinks and there's some detoxing of the brain, it might exit it through the cerebral spinal fluid. Now, all of those pathways, all of those exit points are reliant upon lymph. So if your lymph gets stuck above your collarbone, under your arms, in your inguinal area, your gut has a tremendous amount of lymph nodes. If lymph is stuck, then those toxins can't get out. And the minute that the body senses those toxins can't get out, what it's going to do is it's going to start to push it back into fat. So it's really one of those things. I'm so happy you brought it up, because I'm sure you get this all the time. It's like women go, no, I gained weight. Fasting didn't work for me. I really want to emphasize that it's fasting is very much like sleeping. Sleeping works for everybody, but not everybody can sleep.
Right.
So,
and you touched on the fact that then the body is going to take those toxins and put it back somewhere. Well, the fat cells their purpose is to store toxins. So even through the last 2 years, right, of what we've been going through, the bombardment of toxins that we've gotten, people have said, gosh, unexplained weight gain. And whether they're fasting or not, they're not changing what they're eating or drinking. Well, the body is saying, oh, I've got to get those toxins out of my blood, put them in my fat stores. And then also a lot of people will see, okay, well, I'm going to start the fasting and I start losing weight and then I plateau. Well, your body has to get in that place. They've got to get rid of all those toxins and then start losing weight again. And there's this kind of like this stage. It's not just going to go like this for everybody. Right. And, we've seen a rise in estrogen dominance because of the toxicity and the insulin resistance. They go together. And men are having issues, estrogen dominance, the man boobs, low libido, can't build the muscle. So even they are suffering as well. Mindy, we have a couple more minutes left. I want to make sure that we touch on everything that you wanted to touch on in your book. Is there anything else you want to make sure we know of that we can find in your book?
I appreciate that question. I do want to go back to the most toxic time in human history. I really can't emphasize enough. Like what we have seen, I'm sure you see this all the time, is that the way that we used to approach health 10, 20, 30 years ago doesn't work anymore. And that's largely because of the amount of toxins that have poured into our environment. And when you look at yourself in the mirror and you see fat, stop villainizing it. Thank it. Because I know that sounds crazy, but your body put those toxins in fat so that it can save your life. That is really, really important. If it didn't put it in fat, it would have put it around at your heart or your lungs, or put it back in, the liver would have been overloaded. So we've got to start honoring the incredible intelligence of this body and stop villainizing when we see things that we don't like and want to dramatically change them. So there's the first thing I wanted to make sure that I said. The book. So the book is split into 3 sections. One of my superpowers on my YouTube channel for many years was bringing the science to people. So the first section is the science behind all the different reasons why we need to fast. There are 6 different length fasts in there. I explain exactly why you would want to do each length, and I show you the science behind each. So try to pacify the geeky brain, and then also to really help make it simple so people understand why. The middle section is a lot on food, believe it or not. I talk all about what foods support our sex hormones and how to eat according to your sex hormones. I also have the fasting cycle, which is a really new tool that we have not unleashed yet. So it will be out on the book. We haven't even put it out on social media. It's a really cool new tool. We have an app that's coming out that will embrace this tool. So you can just plug in, the day of your cycle. It'll tell you which fast you should do, which foods you should do. So we've got a lot coming that will be built around the fasting cycle. And then the last section is really the combination of this 30-day done for you reset. You can just follow the 30-day reset, but also every question, it's the break fasting. It's every question I've ever been asked on YouTube, on all my platforms, all the nuance. It's conditions like thyroid problems and autoimmune and infertility. How do you use fasting to help those? So the back one is really the application of everything. So, and then there's over 50 recipes. So I'm really proud of it. I poured a lot into it.
Amazing. It's like your last child.
It's right. Well, it's my last child, but I'm now on to my next book. Hay House just contracted me for the next book. So, but yes, it's like a child for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. Every time one kid out in my family goes off to college, I'm going to get a new dog and you're going to get a new book, right?
Oh my God, I'm going to tell my husband that because the kids are like out of the house and they're like, could you get a puppy? We're like, no. We're traveling, but I'm going to say now, no, I'm writing a book instead.
Right. I'll get a new book. Well, I just love everything you do. And I recommend everyone find Mindy, her book, not just that, but your podcast and your energy and your heart-centered. You're doing it for the right reasons. And I have some supplements that help with the fasting, but go to Mindy for the coaching and you do these longer fasts. I do not do those at this time in my life.
We actually, you know what we're going to do, Sarah? I should have mentioned this. The first week of January, so the book comes out December 27th. You can pre-order it now. But on the first week of January, for anybody who wants to join me, we're going to do a 3-day water fast. And I'm going to lead everybody through it. And we're pulling all kinds of communities. Hay House is bringing their community. Several doctors are bringing their community. So I extend it to your community. If you want to do a 3-day water fast, let me lead you through it.
That would be amazing. And that's actually when we're starting another month of the Ascent Diet Cleanse. So I've got the supplements that go along with the fasting. That would be a huge jump start to 2023. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Mindy, for joining us today. And everybody else, thank you. If I can help you with your health issues, you can contact me directly through the website. Make sure you join the free group coaching on Telegram with the link below. I teach you on a daily basis with tips and tools to enhance your health, and you will be a part of a like-minded group to support you on your journey in addition to truly taking care of your health. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram under Accelerated Health Products and over 100 channels under Accelerated Health Radio and TV, including iTunes, Stitcher, Pandora, YouTube, of course, or whatever podcast platform you subscribe to. If you like what you heard today, please hit the subscribe button and share with a few of your friends. And you can join us every Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific time and Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific time. You can also use coupon WELCOME10 for 10% off site-wide. Thanks again for joining us here on Accelerated Health Radio, and have a great week and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks.